Motivation and engagement in the context of game-based learning in the elementary classroom, a literature review. Learning environments are adapting to the ever-changing educational technology trends, and educators struggle to keep up. Every year, children walk through our door more tech-savvy than the year before. I see this as early as preschool, kindergarten, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. New digital game-based learning applications are pushed at us every year, and educators all wonder, are my students learning? Or how can I engage my students on these serious gaming platforms? The topic of motivation and engagement in the elementary classroom is a tale as old as time. If the students are not motivated or engaged, then they are not learning. Now that teachers are faced with the task of virtual learning or hybrid learning, this can be even more of a challenge to engage our students and motivate our students with outside forces taking away their attention and focus. I want to analyze resources that could provide the rationale behind game-based learning or serious gaming in the classroom. I know that many districts, like mine, have already invested millions of dollars into these game-based learning companies. Was it worth it? Will it engage and motivate our students to learn? My objective was to locate at least 10 scholarly journal articles relating to engagement and motivation in the context of game-based learning. I wanted to find articles that addressed the topic from a theoretical approach using flow theory or self-determination theory. I also wanted to find resources that had quantitative data to support their claims, such as an experiment where they were able to measure the engagement or motivation of elementary age students. All of these resources revolve around my main research question. Can serious gaming be an efficient pedagogical approach to increasing motivation and engagement in the elementary classroom? For my research, I used the James Madison University online database on the library website. I only chose scholarly articles, and the date ranged from 2010 to 2020. All articles had to be relative to elementary age students K through 6th grade. I also used keywords such as serious gaming, game-based learning, elementary, motivation, intrinsic, engagement, digital gaming. In the beginning, I limited my search to game-based learning involving phonics, but I did find that there was limited research solely on this curricula, so I expanded it to involve all elementary curriculum. The two themes of this literature review are engagement and motivation. Engagement. Children not only enjoy playing, but they also are engaged when they are playing. Young children learn social skills, language acquisition, behavioral patterns, and an abundance of other skills just by playing. Childhood is the period during which we learn to play when we progress in the mastery of this activity. Learning to play is learning to master situations marked by the second degree, the necessary metacommunication. Annetta, 2009. I thought that quote was powerful in relation to playing and then playing on technology. Technology allows play to become the center of learning in the classroom once again beyond the early years of schooling. Serious gaming encourages a playful learning environment in which the student is engaged in the academic game of learning simultaneously. Teachers can potentially increase their students' engagement while providing the opportunity for deeper learning through serious gaming. Humans are competitive by nature, so learning through serious gameplay is a successful method of teaching. Educational video games have a competitive nature, drawing the learner to an intended outcome. In other words, they want to play to win the game. Annetta's study concludes that students were excited to immerse themselves in a virtual world to solve content-based problems. Therefore, creating a playful environment is an effective pedagogy strategy. When games scaffold learning in ways that keep players on the edge of their seats, it can foster the continued interest and keep them engaged. A study conducted by Hammery suggested that educational video games effectively engage students by increasing levels of challenges and skills during the games. Games are successful by engaging students when they offer challenges in a student's zone of proximal development, keeping them maximally engaged in learning. This means that the game is not too advanced and the student is not frustrated, but they're also is not too easy and they're not bored. Scaffolds in a game help those students who need assistance reaching the game's goals so they can continue to stay engaged and not lose interest due to frustration. I think of it as Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The porridge is not too cold, not too hot, it's just right. Research also showed that students were more engaged with a game that's challenging and having to complete an easy task. Game mechanics and game dynamics are two important roles in serious gaming. Game mechanics are defined as rules that make up a game that make the game fun and challenging. For example, the game's point system, badges, or levels. Game dynamics, on the other hand, are how the players react to the game's mechanics. Three different kinds of engagement are emotional, cognitive, and behavioral. It was concluded in the research conducted by De Rocha that when the use of gamification was aligned with educational purposes, it can be a powerful tool in the classroom. Different elements affect the cognitive and emotional engagement, such as multimedia elements and touchscreens. The cognitive engagement was increased through interacting with avatars, but players were not engaged by narratives provided by characters. Students lost interest and had lower engagement levels during videos or text-rich games. The flow theory is a design principle of providing a general enjoyment model, elaborating the process of the occurrence of experience enjoyment. Flow is related to the elegant balance between challenge and skills. The game flow model refers to the elements that produce flow in a computer game, including concentration, challenge, control, concise goals, and feedback. The study noted that the need for challenge was the most important flow element relating to engagement. It also suggested that the use of touchscreens may enhance the students' engagement and interest in games. A touchscreen is a very natural and intuitive way for people to interact with a device. It allows students to manipulate objects on a screen, where a computer screen and a mouse may not allow them to do so. My second theme was motivation. Creativity, self-esteem, self-awareness, imagination can be increased by giving students the opportunity to use serious games in the classroom. The self-determination theory has three parts, satisfying three basic needs, including autonomy, relatedness, and competence. Providing students or players with a choice or sense of control in their environment throughout the digital gaming experience will give them a sense of autonomy. In a traditional setting, relatedness refers to a student's relationship with their peers or teacher and feeling of belonging. In a digital gaming environment, relatedness is portrayed by players establishing a common language or working towards a parallel goal, solving complex problems together. In a gaming environment, the players need to believe they are moving closer to an intended outcome of the game in order to inherit a sense of accomplishment or competence. The challenges a player faces in a game should reflect the developmental skills, and they should receive feedback in order to develop their sense of competence, whether it be in coins or levels. Intrinsic motivation. Meeting the needs of the self-determination theory forms a strong intrinsic motivation in relation to serious gaming. Intrinsic motivation is defined as a situation where a person performs an action without the need for an external contingency, meaning they find the activity rewarding in itself. As mentioned before, flow theory defines a student's flow state as a person's interacting with activity without their self-consciousness and following their intrinsic motivation to completely engage in the learning environment. The research found that a student's flow was directly correlated to their ability to maintain engagement and motivation in a digital gaming experience. Inquiry-based learning refers to students having opportunities to make their learning more meaningful and self-directed to solve challenges. Students in a study were categorized into active and reflective learning style groups. And it was found that the active learning styles benefited from the challenging game-based learning experience more. Effective educational digital games can give students the ability to conceptualize problems and solve challenges that are analogies for real life. Creating meaningful learning computer games improves students' learning motivations, satisfaction degree, and flow state. Mindful learning is defined as a flexible state of mind in which people are actively engaged in the present, aware of new things, and sensitive to context. Mindful learning also improves attention and cognitive flexibility, problem solving, emotion, and working memory. These attributes of mindful learning are imperative to mastering skills in creative game-based learning. The association of autonomous motivation and mindfulness has various positive psychological and behavioral outcomes. A research conducted by Ye analyzed how self-determination and achievement goals are closely related to autonomous motivation and how they might affect mindful learning in a digital gaming environment. And it was concluded that mindful learning does play a role in how achievement goals and self-determination influence mastery and experience and overall motivation in a student's digital game-based learning environment. This review explored elementary age students' engagement and motivation while using game-based learning in the classroom. Serious gaming creates a playful learning environment which engages young students in their learning. Students are excited to immerse themselves in a virtual world and can get a deeper understanding of the content by solving content-based problems. Games that target a student's zone of proximal development and scaffold challenging tasks are most effective in relation to student engagement. Multimedia effects and character avatars create an emotional engagement for students. Touchscreen features are very natural and an intuitive way for people to interact with the device. They engage students by allowing them to manipulate objects. The flow theory explains that balance between skill and challenge that harnesses a student's concentration and engagement in serious gaming. Students are motivated in serious gaming environments when they believe they are moving closer to achieving an overall goal. Meeting the needs of the self-determination theory gives the student a strong sense of intrinsic motivation. Inquiry-based learning refers to the students having opportunities to make their learning more meaningful and self-directed, therefore motivating them to solve challenges. Mindful learning plays a role in how achievement goals and self-determination influences overall motivation in a student's digital game-based learning experience. Limitations and implications. Educators should use this literature review as a tool when researching serious games they want to implement in their classroom. I do not believe that game-based learning should replace the teacher. Serious gaming should be used in parallel with good teaching practices for best results. The research in this literature review does support the use of serious gaming in the elementary classroom, but does not address many of the products in the market that do not support the best practices mentioned. Research on serious gaming conducted using actual elementary age students is difficult and hard to find. You must get permission from the county and the school to use students in a study due to privacy laws. I encourage educators to use this finding and conduct their own investigation of resources available to them in their own county. Can serious gaming be an efficient pedagogical approach to increasing motivation and engagement in the elementary classroom? The articles referenced in this literature review indicate that yes, serious gaming does have a positive effect on student engagement and motivation in the elementary classroom, but when the game meets the above recommendations that foster motivation and engagement. Thank you so much for watching.